Predators don't always look the way we expect them to. When we hear the word predator, a lot of us picture some sketchy looking dude lurking in the shadows, someone who looks dangerous. But the truth is, predators come in all varieties, and they're not always men. They can be well liked, well respected. They can hold positions of power, and they can host the party. They can be the cool mom. Today's case centers around Misty Roberts, a 43-year-old mother and former mayor who committed an act that ultimately tarnished her career, her reputation, her freedom, and the innocence of several teenage boys. This story isn't just about a scandal or a bad decision. It's about a power imbalance and how predators and victims come in all shapes and sizes. But before we get into the details of this case, I want to say a huge thank you to Raycon for sponsoring the following message. I've been partnering with Raycon for years now, and it's for a good reason. They are some of the best quality earbuds you can get for such an affordable price. And with springtime quickly approaching, it's the perfect time to refresh your routine and start spending more time outside. Whether it's going on daily walks, slowing down your daily errands, or just soaking up some extra fresh air, it's nice to have something that fits effortlessly into your everyday. Raycon's Essential Open Earbuds have become my go-to for being out and about. With most earbuds, they block out everything, whether someone's calling your name, a car honking, or something else that might actually be important for you to hear when you're out and about. Raycon's Essential Open Earbuds keep your ears open while still delivering that crystal clear, high-quality sound. Unlike your typical earbuds, they sit right outside your ear canal so you can stay aware of the noises around you. These earbuds are lightweight and comfortable with a secure fit that ensures they stay put, whether you're at the gym, out on a walk, or just making your way through your day-to-day. I've been absolutely loving riding my bike all along the canals here in Arizona, and I always have a podcast or some music playing, but of course that means I always have to stay aware of my surroundings, and so Raycon's Essential Open Earbuds are a must for me. They allow me to listen to some tunes while I ride along the canal, while also staying alert to what's going on around me and not sacrificing any sound quality along the way. The best part is that Raycon delivers the same premium audio as the big brands, but at half the price. With over 30 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee, there's no reason to overpay. The Essential Open Earbuds are the perfect refresh for your spring routine. Go to buyraycon/RSTC Open to get 20% off yours today. Thank you again so much to Raycon for partnering with me on today's video. With that being said, let's get into the details of this case. Misty Roberts is the divorced mother of 2 children, a son and a daughter, and is the former mayor of DeRidder, Louisiana, serving since 2018 until she stepped down in 2024. She was a public relations and community development professional who was the city's first elected female mayor. According to her LinkedIn profile, Misty describes herself as a resilient leader, strategic planner, and a community advocate. She highlights her work in city growth, infrastructure, utility development, and emergency planning and recovery. Before her role as mayor, she attended McNeese State University, earning a bachelor's degree in communication and public relations. From there, she held multiple other roles within city government, including Director of Community Service and Project Coordinator, where she managed public relations, marketing, community programs, and economic development initiatives. We don't know the exact ages of Misty's children, though we know that they are in their teenage years. As such, it appears that maybe Misty was trying to be the fun mom, allowing her kids to party and be wild. It appears that she did let her kids drink at her home on prior occasions. We really don't know the reasoning behind why everything happened the way that it did, only that it does seem to be sort of in her behavior. But the way this progressed is disturbing, and once again, it proves that predators come in all shapes and sizes. On July 20th, 2024, Misty decided to help her teenage son throw a pool party at their home, buying them alcohol and providing pretty much everything they needed for a fun night. In texts later recovered from Misty's phone, it was found that the morning before the party, Misty asked her son what kind of alcohol he wanted. By around 6 p.m. that evening, the party started. Her son, daughter, nephew, and a bunch of other teenagers, the youngest being 14 years old, all started showing up. As far as I could find, the only adult there to supervise the party was Misty. As you can expect, the party was chaotic. Drinks were flowing. Everyone was jumping in and out of the pool, dancing all over each other. Many of them got too drunk and ended the night clutching the toilet, questioning every decision they've ever made. Things you'd expect from a bunch of teenagers who got together and had unlimited access to alcohol. But as it turned out, this wasn't just your typical party with a bunch of kids and a cool mom to supervise. The days and weeks following the party were an absolute disaster for 42-year-old Misty Roberts. She knew she had done something wrong and was hoping, praying she could cover it up, keep her victim quiet. But she was sloppy, and way too many people saw what she had done, including her own children. The case starts the day following the party when one of the partygoers, an unnamed 16-year-old friend of Misty's son, returned home. According to the boy's mother, he initially acted like nothing out of the norm had happened. However, his mother then got a text from another family member telling her that something had happened to her 16-year-old son the night before. Rumors had started swirling by that point, and everyone was talking about it. When she sat him down and asked him what happened, he admitted pretty quickly that the night before, he and then 42-year-old Misty Roberts had sex. He quickly started apologizing, saying that he was disgusted and didn't even want it to happen. Of course, being that he was just a 16-year-old teenager and Misty was a 42-year-old grown-ass adult, his mother told him not to apologize, that this was not his fault. The boy went on to say that the prior evening he had shown up to the party late, so the other kids were feeding him drinks to help him catch up. This, of course, made him get drunk really fast to the point that he was stumbling around, and at one point he threw up. All throughout the night, he told his mom that Misty kept flirting with him, telling him he looked good, walking by him and brushing up against him, putting her hand on his leg, all while she was strutting around in her little bikini. This information all made the 16-year-old's mother feel disgusted, rightly so, but she didn't know what to do at first. She initially wanted to keep the situation quiet because this was the mayor of the city. She didn't want to call the DeRidder police because Misty was their boss, and who knows if they could even trust them. So she instead opted to meet with the district attorney behind a local bank as to not be seen with him. He suggested that she called the sheriff's office, and luckily she actually knew one of the sheriffs personally, so she was able to contact someone directly. From there, she was put into contact with the state police. All of this was done to prevent any sort of conflict of interest or situation of protecting one's own, as we see in some cases where local government is involved. As this was happening, the mother also reached out to Misty on her own. Now, I don't know if this was at the suggestion of police or if this was just something she did on her own to sort of back her up into a corner and get her to admit to what she did. Either way, she reached out to Misty asking if she had any concerns about being pregnant, to which Misty replied that she was on birth control. This text with Misty sort of admitting to the victim's mother what happened is what prompted the investigation into allegations of statutory rape. And as the investigation unfolded, the situation just got messier. Detectives ended up identifying several of the teenagers who were present at the party, including Misty's own children and her nephew, as well as one adult who showed up later in the night. And what they had to say was jarring. Now, what I'm about to tell you are stories compiled over the course of multiple interviews that took place over the course of several months. With some of those witnesses, you'll hear at a later trial that they did lie at first before giving their official statements, so that will be used against them. The reasoning behind them lying at first, though, is obvious. They're teenagers who were underage drinking, who are now being questioned by the cops. They obviously don't want to admit to what they were doing until they realized, like, oh shit, this is like a serious situation, and they don't care that I was underage drinking. They care that someone might have been raped. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of gaps in the stories, so instead of trying to tell you everything in chronological order as investigators had to sift through it, I'm going to put it in an order that makes the most sense for the purpose of the story. The first witness is a 17-year-old friend of Misty's son. He told officers that at the start of the night, he saw Misty and the 16-year-old victim hanging out and flirting together before taking a selfie, which struck this guy as unusual. It just seemed a bit strange for his friend and another friend's mom to be interacting like this and taking pictures together. As the evening went on, the witness noticed Misty and the victim both getting drunker together, with Misty touching up on him and dancing all over him. At one point, he then saw them leave the pool area and head inside. Others at the party also confirmed this account, with some even saying that the 16-year-old and Misty were making out in the pool. Next, investigators heard from Misty's son himself. He said that he also noticed this behavior from his mom and the 16-year-old victim, who he described as one of his best friends. After the 17-year-old noticed Misty and the victim going inside, he, Misty's son, and Misty's nephew all also went inside to see what was going on. They saw that Misty and the boy were inside the extra bedroom within the home, and through a cracked window, all three boys saw the two of them having sex. Now, Misty's nephew said that he wasn't exactly sure what he was seeing at first, so he took out his phone, he opened Snapchat, and tried to look through the phone to see if he could get a better look. Sometimes if something's like far away, you might look through your phone and sort of zoom in to see if you can get a better look at it. He said he couldn't remember if he hit record, but even if he did record it, he knows that he didn't send a video to anyone or even save the video. He did end up handing his phone over to investigators, but he said that he deleted everything from that night because, again, he was a teenager who was underage drinking and didn't want to get in trouble. It's not necessarily because he was trying to hide evidence of the sexual encounter or anything like that. Either way, all three of those boys said that they saw the two of them having sex. Now, they said that they didn't necessarily see the penetration or anything like that, but they saw them on top of one another and they were naked in the room. So put two and two together, that's what they saw. As they did that, phone records show that Misty's son texted her telling her that what she was doing was crazy and warning her that this kid was just 17 years old, though we do know that he was just 16. After the three boys witnessed this, they went over to another area of the house to talk about what they just saw and figure out how to stop it. By that point, though, Misty's teenage daughter also saw what was going on, and she was crying about it. She knew that it was wrong, she knew it was sexual assault, and I'm sure it was a gut-wrenching sight. And just beyond that, I'm sure it was embarrassing too, just knowing everything that was going on. After Misty was done sexually assaulting this 16-year-old boy, she returned to the party where the group of horrified teens were ready to confront her. According to witnesses, an argument erupted between Misty and her teenage son and the nephew, and things were starting to get out of control. So by that point, Misty's nephew called his mom, Jill Weaver, who is Misty's close friend and former sister-in-law. When she was questioned, she reported that her son called her right around 2 a.m., asking her to come over right away because things were getting out of hand. When she got there, Misty was ranting and raving, arguing with both her son and Jill's son. Emotions were very clearly high, with Misty's son on the brink of tears. When Jill asked the boys what was going on, Misty's son said, "My mom effed my best friend." Amid all that, Misty was also accusing her nephew of having a video of the whole thing, so he had to show her his phone to prove that he didn't have any sort of video. Tensions hit a breaking point when Misty became so emotional that she started threatening to kill herself. It was a threat that her family took very seriously, so her nephew acted right away. He knew there was a gun in the house, so he actually located it, unloaded it, and put it in the car so that Misty couldn't have access to it. Imagine, you're a teenager, drunk off your ass, and still having to act as the responsible adult in the situation because some 42-year-old woman is having a freak out because of something she did. Unbelievable behavior from Misty, and very impressive that a teenager was able to pull himself together so quickly in this situation. As all of this chaos was happening, as the party started to come to a close and people started to leave, Jill started going around and telling people not to speak of what happened. She told them to leave police out of this, telling them absolutely not to report this. Some reports even say that she would not let the 16-year-old victim leave the house until he agreed not to tell anyone what happened. Of course, as you can gather, this whole night was a cluster. These stories all point towards Misty sleeping with the teenage boy, but everyone was drunk. People can think they saw something they didn't actually see, even when they are sober. So how can investigators just believe a bunch of blackout drunk 16 and 17-year-olds? Well, the next witness was a pretty damning one. Turns out the same night after the incident was said to have taken place, a DoorDash order for the emergency contraceptive Plan B was delivered to the home. Detectives managed to track down the DoorDash driver, who confirmed that the name on the order was Misty. The driver went as far as saying that he actually recognized the house and knew that Misty lived there because he had taken his kids trick-or-treating there the year prior. So he kind of already knew who the Plan B may have been for. By this point, it had been about a week since the party, but police had managed to speak with multiple witnesses. Now, they haven't compiled everything I've told you up to this point, but about a week after this took place, they had spoken to enough people that they pretty much knew what happened. Misty had tried everything she could to keep this under wraps, but she knew that this whole thing was about to blow up in her face. So by July 27th, 2024, she resigned from her position as mayor of DeRidder. In her resignation letter, she wrote, "For nearly 15 years, my love and passion for DeRidder has been my foundation while serving as mayor. I will forever be proud of what we've been able to accomplish together. This role has rewarded me with many great relationships. I am humbled to have witnessed the hard work that took a community to come together and overcome through unprecedented times. However, I must adjust my focus and priorities. To the residents of this city, thank you for your trust, love, and support in me to lead our city into our future of greatness. My love for DeRidder will never waver." Almost a week after stepping down as mayor, Misty Roberts was then arrested and charged with third-degree rape and contributing to the delinquency of juveniles. From there, she pleaded not guilty and was released on a $100,000 bail and was allowed to await her trial at home. As the investigation continued, detectives were able to obtain warrants to search Misty's phone records, and there they found even more damning evidence. Text messages indicate that Misty had spoken with her ex-husband and the father of her children, Duncan Clanton, about the incident, so police followed up with him to see what he had to say. And he told investigators that Misty did directly admit to him that she had sex with the 16-year-old. Duncan said that he spoke with his son about the incident as well, and he confirmed that he witnessed it. Duncan said that Misty had actually asked him to call the victim's mom to gauge her reaction on the whole thing, so he did that. And at the time, it seemed like everyone just wanted to keep it under wraps. After that, there are multiple text messages where Duncan is encouraging Misty to just deny what happened if she's asked by anyone what happened. Misty texted him saying, "I need you to deny it too, please." Though he told police that he more so was just trying to avoid the subject altogether and was trying to play dumb. He didn't really want to outright lie to anyone, though texts do confirm that he denied the allegations to one of Misty's coworkers in a meeting that they had together. It seemed like he was asked about the allegations, and it seemed like he did deny them at one point. In another text, Duncan said to Misty, "I'm just trying to guard them for the rest of this week until we can get out of town." The week following, he then took his 2 teenage children on vacation to get away from it all. In another text, Misty wrote to Duncan, "I can't keep hurting others, friends, and family. Lord knows I've done enough." Duncan replied, ensuring her that she was a great mom, though he would later testify that he did not think she was a good mom at all. Ouch. Next, investigators found messages between Misty and Jill Weaver, her best friend and former sister-in-law, as well as messages in group chats that the two are in with their teenage children. In one text, Jill is seen texting her own son to lie till you die if asked about the situation. Then there was a photo found of Misty and the 16-year-old victim together at the party as well. She was in her bikini and he was with her, looking up, smiling at her. The two are clearly very close with one another in the photo, though the majority of their bodies couldn't be seen in the photo because they're obstructed by furniture. Throughout this entire time, Misty was completely denying that she had sex with the teenage boy, but the evidence suggested otherwise. Multiple witnesses, including her own children, say otherwise. Text messages allude to her doing it. I mean, if someone texts you asking if there are any concerns about you being pregnant and you have no reason to answer to the person asking, then why would you even respond? Like, if a random person texts me out of the blue asking, "Hey, are there any concerns you might be pregnant?" I'd be like, what the hell? Why is that any of your business? But if someone very close to the person I just slept with was asking, then I might be more inclined to answer. That in and of itself proves that she did it, at least in my eyes. Now, when this case first went to trial, it actually ended in a mistrial. That was because 2 of the judges overseeing the grand jury proceedings were removed from the case, so the indictments were thrown out. That led the prosecution to refiling a new case, this time for lesser charges of carnal knowledge of a juvenile and indecent behavior with a juvenile. She pleaded not guilty to these charges as well, and by late February of this year, her case went to trial. The prosecution had many witnesses take the stand, all who testified to what they saw that night. Again, this whole thing was a bit of a mess, coming from the mouths of a bunch of drunk teenagers who originally tried lying to investigators, who are now changing their stories to say that they did see the former mayor, Misty Roberts, in bed with a teenage boy. But among those witnesses was the victim himself. He told the jury what I told you earlier. He was drunk, and Misty had seemingly targeted him. She was grooming him that entire night, flirting with him, telling him that he looked good, putting her hands all over him. They ended up in the bedroom together. They had sex, and multiple people saw it happening from the crack in the window. Now, Misty's daughter testified at the trial that she did see them on top of one another through the window, while her teenage son did try changing the story, saying that he didn't know what he saw. However, the prosecution did play the original interview where he told detectives that his mom had sex with his best friend. They also heard from the victim's mom, who was disgusted to learn that her son was taken advantage of by a middle-aged woman. Jill Weaver also testified about getting the call that night and showing up to this chaotic scene of Misty yelling and screaming, threatening to kill herself. She admitted that she and Misty then worked together to try and cover this whole thing up, from preventing the teens from leaving the party until they promised not to tell, to texting her own son to, quote, lie till you die. Misty's ex-husband also testified. Again, he admitted that he called the victim's family to see how they felt about everything. He was trying to help her keep things under wraps for a while, but ultimately said that he didn't want to lie about this to anyone. He wasn't going to cover it up if people asked him. It seemed like he was willing to do that at first, but eventually he changed his mind. He testified that he did not think that Misty was a good mother by that point, that he was actually pretty concerned about her mental health. The two had just gone through a rough divorce and custody battle. She knew someone who had recently died by suicide. She was going through a lot and she was struggling. Clearly, she wasn't making the best decisions. That DoorDash driver also testified to dropping off the Plan B at home. Why would you need Plan B for any other reason? The prosecution presented the text messages that I've discussed up to this point, which proved that Misty was talking about this situation in the days after it happened, trying to get people to lie and cover it up. Again, even though she doesn't say it directly in the text messages, they do all allude to the situation. And even though there are no photos or videos of the actual event taking place, the evidence certainly suggests that Misty is guilty of these charges. On the other hand, the defense sought to question the credibility of each and every witness and the overall validity of the investigation itself. Again, they pointed out that some of the statements told by the teens were conflicting in terms of when they saw Misty and the victim interacting, what they saw them doing, whether there were videos taken, etc. Of course, it was no secret that they were all also very drunk at the time. They also questioned Misty's ex-husband, who said that he had a motive to testify against his ex-wife. Per the conditions of Misty's bail, she's only allowed to see her kids if Duncan allows it. If she's convicted, there's also a chance that she's put on the sex offender registry. He will have custody of the kids, he will have control over when she gets to see them, and he will no longer have to pay child support. So he does have skin in the game. There is a reason for him to want to see her behind bars. When it comes to the investigation, they also pointed out some missteps taken by investigators. First, there were surveillance cameras at the home, which detectives did not even bother to collect or analyze. When asked why, they said they just assumed it would have been deleted by the time they would have had access to it, which was about a week after. Even though nowadays there are cloud storages and plenty of systems that will store videos for much longer than that, they also didn't collect any DNA from the scene, examine any of the victim's clothes, or take really any other form of physical evidence. The defense basically argued that this whole case sits on these inconsistent stories from witnesses with questionable credibility. No one saw what happened with 100% clarity. No one can even give a clear, concise picture of everything that took place that night because of the heavy drinking involved. Therefore, Misty should be found not guilty on her charges. At the end of the trial, both sides made their closing arguments and the jury was off for deliberation. And they only deliberated for 1 hour before deciding on a verdict, which is never a good sign for the defense. They came back and found that 43-year-old Misty Roberts is in fact guilty of her charges.
Where you parking? Okay, she's right over here. Okay. Misty, did you want to say anything about that?
I'll give you a call, man.
Huh? All right, fellas. Little privacy. Appreciate it.
As of right now, her sentencing is scheduled to take place mid-April, so she has since been released to await her next hearing at home. The carnal knowledge charge carries a max sentence of up to 10 years in prison, while the indecent behavior carries up to 7 years. She will also be required to register as a Tier 1 sex offender. So that is where the case sits. Now, I wanted to cover this case for a few different reasons. First, because it is a lighter topic than what I've been covering recently on this channel, I've been getting a lot of comments from you all saying that I covered these cases that no one else will touch. They're so horrific that sometimes you guys who are regular consumers of true crime, you can't even watch them. And I hear you. Even with this job, the evil that exists in this world still never fails to surprise me. So I wanted to bring you a bit of a lighter case this week. But I also wanted to discuss this one to highlight that predators come in all varieties. Whenever we hear stories of older men grooming young girls and teens, there's so much outrage and discussion. But for so long, when a young boy or teen hooks up with an older woman, it wasn't taken seriously. He's given a fist bump or told good job. But that isn't how it should be, and I feel like recently, in the past couple years, the narrative has been shifting, and I think it's going in a positive direction, but it's still not completely there. Regardless of your gender, your brain is still very much developing in your teen years, and by that point, you are way too young to be making those kinds of adult decisions with someone that much older than you. Yes, teens are hooking up with each other all the time. They're drinking together, they're making bad decisions together all the time, but that's different. They're on a level playing field. If I'm 16 and I'm making bad decisions with another 16, 17, 18-year-old, that's okay. That's completely different. They're all being stupid together. But when it's an adult and a teenager, there is a massive imbalance in power dynamic, maturity, and understanding of what it really means to partake in sexual activity. And that is where it is wrong. I don't care if Misty was going through a lot. Find another 40-year-old to hook up with. Hell, find a 25-year-old to hook up with if you need it to be someone so much younger. But leave the kids out of it. Leave your kids' friends out of this. This case is disturbing, and in my opinion, it's so much more than just a drunk woman making a bad decision. There has to be something seriously wrong with you for you to look at someone that much younger and think it's okay to be sexual with them and find them attractive in that way. Again, I don't care how drunk you are. I'm 28 and I could be blackout. And if you put even a 20-year-old in front of me, I'm telling you, no, that is a child. That is a child to me. And I feel like most people my age, especially women, feel similarly. I'm not saying that that would be necessarily wrong, but I'm just saying I cannot fathom in my head, even at my age, looking at a 16-year-old and finding them attractive. That is just like, coming out of my mouth even feels so wrong. So being 42 years old, 43 years old, how do you look at your own child's friend and decide to get sexual with them? It's wrong on so many levels. So I'm glad that Misty had to face the consequences for her actions. I'm happy that she couldn't just sweep this under the rug and get away with stealing that 16-year-old boy's innocence. At the very least, the victim and his family can know that everyone who knows about this case can acknowledge that what happened was wrong and that she is facing accountability for what happened. I just hope that he is on a road to healing. But that is where I'm going to end today's video, and now I want to hear from you all. What do you think of this case and how it played out? Do you agree with me in that she deserved her charges and conviction, or do you agree with the defense that there wasn't enough evidence? Let's discuss this and any other thoughts you have in the comments below. If you like this video, please make sure to go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I put out new true crime and mystery videos every single week. Don't forget to turn the notification bell too on so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Spotify. All will be linked down below. And if you have any case suggestions, please make sure to fill out the Google form, which is also listed down below. With that, hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.